Today, the markets are flashing some serious warning signs. You can just feel this nervous energy, this volatility that has everybody on edge. So, in the next few minutes, we're going to connect the dots and try to understand the really powerful forces that are driving all this uncertainty. Okay, let's dive in.
So it all comes down to this one big question, right? Things were kind of calm for a bit, and then bam! What suddenly has investors so spooked? We're going to start with the symptoms, the stuff you can actually see, and then we'll dig into what's causing it all to really get to the heart of the matter.
Okay, so what does a nervous market actually look like? Well, you're seeing this classic risk-off mood. Stocks are dipping, of course, that's the obvious one. But the VIX, which is basically Wall Street's anxiety meter, it's spiking. And that's a big deal, because it means investors are betting on some really wild price swings ahead. At the same time, you see money just pouring into the usual safe spots. Gold is soaring to record highs, and people are snapping up government bonds. This is more than just a little dip. It's a genuine flight to safety.
So what lit the match here? It all points to a sudden crisis of confidence in the banking sector. One analyst, Ed Yardeni, used this perfect metaphor. He asked if we're just seeing a few cockroaches or a full-on infestation. You know the theory in finance? If you find one piece of really bad news, there's probably a lot more hiding in the walls. And that's the fear that's just hanging over everything right now.
And it started right here. Zions Bank Corporation, a pretty big regional bank, saw its stock just fall off a cliff, down 13% in a single day. A drop that big, especially when it's tied to news about alleged fraud in commercial real estate, well, that's a massive red flag that gets everyone's attention.
And this is why the fear is spreading so fast. It wasn't just a one-off. Western Alliance, another important regional bank, dropped 10% on similar news. So now everyone's looking around going, okay, if it's happening to them, who's next? This is that cockroach theory playing out in real time.
And, a fear like this, it doesn't just stay home. Almost immediately, the anxiety jumped right across the Atlantic. Suddenly, there's a very real feeling that this could become a global contagion event.
And just look at these numbers from Europe. Deutsche Bank, down 6.5%. Barclays, down 5.5%. I mean, these aren't small-time players. These are global banking giants. The entire European banking sector just had its worst day since August. So yeah, that contagion risk, it's very, very real.
Oof, this quote right here, it really hits home. The moment you hear SVB, it just sends a shiver down your spine, doesn't it? The collapse of Silicon Valley Bank is still so fresh in our minds. That name brings back all the feelings of bank runs, systemic risk. It's the ghost that's haunting the market today.
So the problem is really centered on this area called private credit. Now, think of it as a more shadowy corner of the financial world. It's not transparent like public bonds. And the big worry is that with so much money flowing into it recently, some banks might have gotten sloppy, cut some corners, and now nobody really knows what kind of risks are hiding on their books or on anyone else's.
And as if all those banking fears weren't enough, let's just throw a dose of high-stakes geopolitical drama into the mix. It's like adding another thick layer of who knows what's going to happen to an already jittery market.
I mean, just look at how fast this is all moving. A 2-hour call with Putin, immediately followed by a meeting with Zelensky, and now there's talk of a face-to-face summit with Putin in Budapest. This kind of rapid-fire diplomacy around the war in Ukraine, it's creating this huge cloud of uncertainty. The outcome is anybody's guess.
And this is what's really making the markets nervous. Is Putin just playing for time here, trying to regroup his forces? Or could President Trump, maybe eager for a big foreign policy win, pressure Ukraine into giving up territory to end the war? These are massive unknowns, with huge implications for global stability, and, of course, for global markets.
But this fog of uncertainty isn't just international. Nope. Right back home in Washington, we're seeing some unpredictable policy moves that are creating a huge split in the corporate world. We've got clear winners and losers emerging almost overnight.
I mean, this contrast is just wild. It's like night and day. On one side, the auto industry gets a huge win, a 5-year extension on tariff relief. That's certainty. You can plan, you can invest, you can build. But then you look at the pharma industry, and they are getting hammered. President Trump is publicly leaning on them to slash the price of these blockbuster weight loss drugs from about $1,000 a month down to $150. That creates total uncertainty about their future, and you can see it in their stocks.
But, and this is a really big but, in the middle of all this fear and chaos, there's this powerful counter-story playing out. There's a whole sector that seems to be living in a parallel universe, completely ignoring the short-term anxiety. All they see is long-term, game-changing growth. And I'm talking, of course, about AI.
Just try to wrap your head around this number for a second. $30 billion. That's what Meta is trying to raise in a single deal, the biggest one ever, to pay for just one new AI data center. Let that sink in. This isn't just an investment, it's a monumental, all-in bet on the future. It's a signal of incredible confidence that just shrugs off all the day-to-day market jitters.
And it's not just Meta. Oracle is so incredibly bullish on AI that it just jacked up its revenue target for 2030 to a jaw-dropping $225 billion. They're basically broadcasting massive long-term optimism. So you have this bizarre split screen, short-term panic on one channel, and this unbelievable confidence on the other.
So this is where all the different pieces of the story come together. You've got the bank fears, the geopolitical drama, and the policy whiplash on one side of the scale, and on the other, you have this absolutely unbridled optimism about AI. It all leads us right back to the central debate of the day.
And here we are, back at that quote from Ed Yardney. It just nails the dilemma perfectly. Are the problems we're seeing in the banking sector just a few isolated cases, a couple of cockroaches that we can deal with? Or are they a sign of a much deeper systemic rot, a full-blown infestation?
And at the end of the day, this is the question every single investor is asking themselves. The answer is going to determine whether today was just a bad day or the beginning of something much, much worse. And with really compelling evidence pointing in both directions, it's no wonder the market is just completely on edge.
So, where do we go from here? Well, you're going to want to keep your eyes on a few key things. First, those upcoming earnings calls from regional banks like Truist. Everyone will be listening very closely for any signs of new cockroaches. Then there are the clues about Fed rate cuts. Will they step in to calm things down? And of course, the outcome of Trump's high-stakes meetings and any official word on auto tariffs and drug prices will be critical. Each one is another piece of the puzzle.